Who the F did I raise age 11? For those of you who are new here, I am sharing my experience with my son who is now 18, who has severe mental health issues, who has tried to kill us, the family, by poisoning us, hiding knives, creating manifestos, saying how he was going to take us all out, what weapons he would use, as well as setting the house on fire and jumping out of the second story window on more than one occasion. So today we're going to talk about Mikey at age 11, some of the traits or behaviors that he exhibited that would put him in a classification of a possible psychopath, right? So 5 traits that he had for long periods of time. So some of these traits he's had since he was 5, some he had since he was 8. But you can't diagnose a child with a severe mental health issue until they're old enough to display these behaviors as an adult, for the most part. He had diagnoses, but not diagnoses that you would have as an adult, if that makes any sense. Okay, so one thing that Mikey displays his lack of empathy. He just didn't have it. It just wasn't in him. There was nothing I can do to teach him empathy. He knew how to act like he had empathy when he needed to act like he had empathy. But when he poisoned me the last time and I had gotten very sick, I ended up needing surgery because I had bleeding ulcers. And I think I talked about this before, how he looked at me and he said, "Look, Mom, I can tell you I feel sorry, but I don't. I can tell you I feel bad, but I don't. And I say it so you'll believe it if you let me play my video game," right? Because it was all about what he could do to get back to his life and start having fun in his world. He didn't understand consequences for his behavior. And I think that also came from a lack of empathy because he never put the two together. It just didn't make sense to him, right? Why are you sad? All I did was poison you. But did you die? No, you didn't, right? So I would try to get him to understand, what if I did die? Who would you have? Who are you going to call when you need something or need somebody? But he still didn't. He was just like, somebody would take care of me, was his thinking. And he really think it's going to be his dad, but we see that didn't work out, right? If you watch the older videos, or the one I just posted not too long ago, he went and stayed with his dad for a hot blink of an eye, honey, a hot second, and that didn't work out. So number 1 is lack of empathy. Number 2, aggressive behavior. He has always been very drawn to violence. I think I told you when he was 3, he just loved hearing the story in the Bible about that David chopped off Goliath's head. He's always been prone and drawn to violence. He killed baby birds when he was 5. He became violent towards his sibling when his sibling was born. So these behaviors continued up to age 11. Okay, so that's another trait, just aggression and just being prone and attracted to violence, thinking about murdering people, us mainly, becoming very intrigued with blood and gore. He was just really into that stuff, even though he had not been exposed to it previously. Okay, so number 3, superficial charm. So he knew how to turn on the charm, honey, when he met new people. I'm telling you, he was adorable. You saw his pictures in some of my previous posts. He's adorable. All my kids are adorable. You hear me? And he knew how to turn that charm on. He would flirt and bat them big old pretty eyes. He has the biggest, prettiest eyelashes. Baby, he is all the things, right? But it was very short-lived. He couldn't keep it up for long periods of time, right? And he was very patient. He knew how to turn on the charm when he wanted to get something, but when you told him no, he couldn't maintain that charm anymore. The real him would show up. And depending on where he was and who he was interacting with would determine how much of the real him he would let show up, right? So if he was a teacher he really liked and the teacher told him no, he may do something passive aggressively, like steal the teacher's keys, or and not tell him. The teacher just can't get home or have to get a new sets of keys done. Or like when he stole the one new guy's badge at one of the inpatient hospitals where he was, so he can escape, right? He liked that teacher, but the teacher told him no, so I'm gonna get you in trouble. That man lost his job. He was only there for 2 months. So just things like that, that Mikey would do. But he knew how to turn on a charm, honey, but he'll turn it right on off when it no longer suited him. Oh, and that goes into, that's a perfect segue into lack of meaningful relationships. He did not have lasting friendships. Like I have an 11-year-old now, his little brother Jack. His friends are always ringing the doorbell, knocking down the door. Can Jack come outside? Can Jack come outside? I want to play with Jack. Can we come over your house? Can we spend the night? Like, this is the hub for the neighborhood kids, right? My house and my girl down the street, her son plays with Jack as well. And so either the kids are in front of her house or they're in my house or in front of my house, right? Playing all day. Mikey didn't have that. He didn't have meaningful connections with people because he couldn't relate to kids his age. He couldn't relate to adults. He wasn't interested in getting to know these kids. So As far as birthday parties and things like that, my friends would invite us to their kids' birthday parties because they were my friends and they were my friends' kids. But outside of that, he didn't have neighborhood kids coming to play with him. And when he was around 11, it was a little boy and his sister. And I think the little boy said something like, I don't like Michael. I don't like Michael. I don't like him. And so I said, why? What happened? He was like, he's always mean. He's throwing rocks at us. He's just mean to us. And his older sister, she had to be around 16. The little boy was Mikey's age, around 11, 10 or 11. And the sister was like, don't say that. Don't say that. He was like, he messed with you too. Like, you should be telling her too. So I apologize. I'm so sorry. I knew that he was socially awkward. I've always tried to socialize him and put him around other children to see if that would help to kind of balance things out, but it just never took. It just never did. And even to this day, he will make very superficial relationships and friendships, and it's usually based on some lie. It's usually based on some persona that he's adopted or that he's trying out. He has these different characters that he tries out, but he never presents as himself, and he never presents in an authentic way. I don't even think he knows how to do that at this point. I'm not sure if he really knows who he really is at this point. And number 5, callousness. He does not care. He could not care less about anything outside of himself, right? So if it has anything to do with him needing something from you, yes, he will act like he cared for a short period of time, but if it's any longer than that, he can't show it. And this goes back to his inability to connect to people, his inability to feel guilt or shame for anything that he does. He's not going to ever feel any remorse. He will apologize if you ask him to apologize, but as far as wanting an authentic apology, he's incapable of doing that because of his diagnoses. So that's it for now. Those are the top 5 things: lack of empathy, aggressive, violent behavior, superficial charm, lack of meaningful friendships or relationships, and callousness. That's it. There's more about Mikey and our family in Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises by Yushima Cherry Burks. It's available in all major bookstores, on Audible, and also on Amazon. Check it out and tell me what you think. Thanks for watching. Be safe.